Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming into my channel. All right, well, we're getting through October. It's time to start thinking about November and what might be coming around the corner. Hmm, emotional solitude. Sometimes this is spiritual protection too. Well, this is Ellen Marie Francisco. Thanks for coming into my channel. We're going to look at November 2025. I'm shuffling the cards. As always, I'm going to ask, what do we need to know going forward? What do we have to work with? Oh gosh, the devil's coming in. It's our center card for November. Wow. Okay. Oh God. And the tower card right afterwards. Whoa, if we thought October was intense. And yet, the Nine of Pentacles usually speaks about sitting pretty, having things under control, working with your divine power, rooting your divine power in material ways. So, at least underneath us in a position of strength, we've got a nice strong card. And we do have our new beginning, Ace of Cups upside down, which could mean it just could be coming right at us. And so the good, the bad, and the ugly could be mixing quite a bit in November. But we could feel ignited, and I would think that that would be right on time. If we were already tied into our heart, then we would be welcoming more. Happiness brings more happiness, and happiness allows more happiness to be happily around us. Mm. And the star energy, so you could actually dream upon a star, wish upon a star. It's the galactic as well. It's a lot of astronomy, astrology, activation. I'm feeling with this, and it is hanging over us. So we've got the way high heavens, the galactic heavens, and the earthiest connection below, above and below us. You know, the tower does bring in a lot of change, usually a change in consciousness. So this could be a lot of the last little jolty kind of energy before some of us really start moving things around. When I see the devil come up as the middle card, it can mean a lot of things. It's not all bad. What it does is it helps you even out your knowledge of the dark forces. Like it kind of helps you. No, let me see. How are we saying this? It's like it's easier to spot your weaknesses when the devil's around. And in a way, some of the tests that come during devil cycle have a lot to do with your own boundaries and the boundaries you've set for yourself, or the promises you've made to your heart. You know, months and months and months have been around what our heart chakra is doing and what resonance we have as far as the happiness in our own worlds. If our happiness isn't in check, we would have had to have been working on that already. So for those of us that didn't, or kind of did the slow poke way, this could be one of the months where it's a little more fast paced as far as needing to face things one on one. Yeah, so you could be shoring up your weaknesses. Also, you could be well aware of whatever addictions are at play, or excesses are at play in your life. I remember October was a little bit of a warning that we'd be kind of relying on our coping strategies, using our coping strategies more, which sometimes is just to default into liquids or substance or emotional roller coasters and things like that. So I don't think it's all bad. Sometimes the devil does point back to Capricorn January cycle. So if something started in January and is still trying to ease off of your life, or you're trying to wrap things up, then this could be a month where you're a little more activated in that regard, or you've got to deal with things head on one, instead of shirking and forgetting that you have to. Also, it may be very clear to you during this month, this is who we are. If the collective is the devil, then we're going to be aware of the things that aren't working. We're going to see, you know, we're not afraid of the darkness if we're coming in with this kind of collective. It's almost like, if there's good news and bad news, give me the bad news first, right? It's kind of a pragmatic, that's how I'm feeling it anyway. It feels like Hmm. Feels like a lot of people are just understanding where their limits are right now and drawing new boundary lines anyway. So I honestly think that this is a good sign that this is coming up because you can't really be taken too far advantage of when the devil's around. I mean, in the tarot sense. Anyway, everything is a spiritual war. I've always said that. And that's a spiritual, it's definitely, you really you have to know yourself in order not to be tempted. You need to know how not to be your own trigger this month, basically. So do yourself the favor to try to keep true to your own promises to yourself or put yourself in best case scenarios with the most opportunity for success. So maybe it's not a month to do all the temptation stuff. If you're still vulnerable and weak and healing from things, you may not feel strong enough to deal with the kind of energies that you're going to have to in November just to hold your own. So don't let people take advantage of you. Don't put yourself in situations where they may be able to as well. Yeah, sometimes that's a good protection card. Back to the Nine of Pentacles, it is a material world card. It does hint that when you're in your power and you work with your own base energies, that, and if you're listening to, sometimes this is being willing to understand like the writing on the wall or what the most obvious choices would be if you're trying to maintain your finances and things like that. Sometimes this is exactly a money card, not just a abundance material world card. And the nine. I still think people are in some of their ending cycles as well. So there could be a lot of things in November that are coming to a conclusion as far as like if you're doing a divorce and you've got to divvy up things, and that's what I'm feeling when I'm feeling into this card. So if there were a dismantling of your family stuff. Anyway, your prayers would be important this month too because of the way the star works. It is high galactic energy. It can be galactic angel. It can be earth angel. It can be just, creative God force energy trying to find its way into creation on the earth plane. And if you're doing what you can to ground yourself and take care of your body and listen to your body and listen to yourself, you have a better chance of these things hitting in a more miracle like way. Like the star can be full on miracles with the right energy around you and the right approach to the energy within you. Yeah, that's great, actually. Starry night. The other thing coming into our gateway to the future is a Five of Pentacles. Now, I look at fives when I see them in tarot as a change, change sometimes that we want, change that is inevitable on a spiritual or emotional, from an emotional growth perspective, from an inner growth, like a really soul growth, core structure, realignments. And often the due diligence in these change cycles is really just to make sure your self-care is on track and know that you're not neglecting yourself in any obvious or depleting ways. And a lot of this is also the idea that you are rooting more. We did see this with the hint with this fruit in here. It's a little bit of grounding going on, the idea like you're willing to do it, now it's going to happen. So you may need time. The card that popped out earlier was the four of cups, so it was like emotional, like you need emotional reprieve. Well, this is more like an internal reprieve or an external reprieve. You don't need the external around you. It's you're getting to the nitty gritty. You're going into the core. You're willing to be vulnerable amongst yourself and your own way of looking at things. And there's also the sense of spirit more around you anyway. So if your gifts have been increasing in the last number of months, which usually they would have by now, unless you're fully denouncing them, you'd have more opportunity to grow quicker in shorter form, especially if you're willing to go with it. And if by chance your prayers have anything to do with your own highest growth and highest inner attunements, I guess, or rooting in the most substantial way, then yeah, it could be success. And this can be a very big healing card too. You may want to tune out the world for a short phase if this is the case, or that may be the trend for, well, certainly for the whole month. It could be going forward into the season as well, into the winter season. Coming up with a King of Cups. This could be a person, or it could be facets of yourself in the outside world. I'm going to see what the other cards are before I decide what this means to us for the collective. To me, it does initially mean that it would, like, this is all an emotional journey to getting to the center of our core. If this is our gateway, we may have some company doing that. Like, we would need people who understand us emotionally during this time period. And it looks like they're side by side here. You may actually have a decent time of it. Maybe you're vulnerable enough to tell people what you need, and willing participants are coming in ready for the journey. That's kind of what it feels like. Yeah, you may have a lot of supportive alliances, emotional alliances. That's what it feels like too. Part of it is because you're willing to go in and do the spiritual work, the internal work, is this who I am really? Is this what I need really? What am I going to do about that? Am I going to do anything about that? Will I do anything? Okay, well, so you just may be talking out loud about your process, and support kind of slides in as a natural byproduct of that, or natural symptom to it. Magnetic pull. That's what it looks like to me. Hmm. Oh, and this is a card that popped out earlier and it got shuffled back in, and it's still coming into the spread. So yes, we need some emotional solidarity, some healing. Spirit is asking us to take the time we need. So if you're willing to take the time internally, they're going to help provide the time externally for you to be able to be unbothered and unhindered. Is that a word? While you go through whatever this is. And anyway, let's not forget we had the tower, which seems to have momentarily hit the floor, which is maybe good. Maybe it will be short amounts of pain with this tower cycle. But anyway, it's a move. It can be moving, it can be settling, it can be tearing up your basement and starting from scratch. It can be welcoming your kids home after a breakaway. It could be, the tower card packs a punch. It can be your landlord saying, hey, guess what? You got to move. I'm selling the house. It could be any of those things. And it's hitting us full force right on top of course, the devil. Let's not forget. So spirit wants us to take a little bit of back step and do the internal work. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be better to do it because the world may be a little chaotic in the outside anyway. And as it is, our final card is the Hierophant card, which can be a teacher, can be a legacy. Sometimes our children are our legacy. Sometimes our job, we end up being very attuned with specialized knowledge that may need to be taught or passed on to our successors as we leave and things like that. Sometimes this can be the grandparent that stays to help raise the kids during the daytime when the parents are at work and can't do it. Can be all of these things. And if this is our final card, I do remember feeling like family is a big issue. Who is your family? You're defining who your real family is. And this could also be a need to make sure that you're sharing either resources or knowledge or both, where there's a reciprocal effect where the time invested comes back to you in other ways further down the line. It feels like a very good ancestral line card in how I'm picking it up in the spread. Also, the whole sense of we all have secret knowledge to a certain degree, whether it's in our careers or in our private lives and the things that we just have as natural talents or gifts that may develop more. So you may be more appreciative of some of the gifts that you have and that you've come into naturally. You may have underestimated them for a long time, and this may be the month where you realize the value of them. Some older people, they start writing books to tell their life story. So there may be that sense of even doing a little bit of paperwork that we need to just to stay on top of things in the real world. You could be looking at things like that too. Wills, um, yeah. Like, what do you want to really have happen? Does anybody know? I feel like for some reason, yeah, lots of family and lots of let's cover our assets, so to speak, kind of stuff. Because this card too has to do with assets, material assets. A lot of times it's the actual house. And to me, I don't know if the tower ever affects you except, well, it affects you in many, many ways for sure. But a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, has something to do with where you're living, whatever's going on, this shift in the foundation or people coming and going. Yes. So there could be some talk about, well, how secure is our footing and for how long do we have our secured footing? What can we do to secure it if we are insecure? Mm-hmm. Now, what else do I see here? Emotional. So I would say where we were doing a lot with our heart in the last number of months, this month has a lot more to do with maintaining emotional intelligence and being smart about listening to what you actually just need. You have new needs that are coming into importance. You may have new loves and new projects and new desires. Your soul is a little bit on fire in some ways during this cycle because you would have had, yeah, and even I'm still feeling the effect of all the eclipses in September and the re-triggering that's happened. So everybody's kind of digging in a little bit deeper into their own energy system and getting more familiar with the internal workings anyway this month for sure. Because in a lot of ways, some people already did end their relationships and they're already single and moving on and reconnecting to themselves. So that's kind of what it looks like anyway. And a lot of people had new projects that were beginning. So it definitely feels like more of a launch month. Definitely not as stagnant, I don't think. I think there's going to be a lot of activity. In some ways, it was hurry up and wait energy in October, but I feel like by what I'm seeing, I mean, we may still need our rest. We may still need pullback time. So I wouldn't over calendar yourself just to be safe. I would under promise and over deliver rather than over promise and under deliver. Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. A little still bit steady to go. So basically, I'd say focus on your emotional wealth and health and goals this month and let the rest kind of take the back seat. Draw firm boundaries, loving. You don't have to act like the devil to create a good boundary. But I would say shore up the boundaries where you need to so you don't have to have emotional upsets because somebody overstepped them. Just get that tuned up and tuned in right off the get-go. Give yourself permission to be strong for yourself. And I think that's the way you do it. What else do they want us to know? Yeah, so it's a feminine approach. Same thing. And so we had a lot of that Mars energy in the early part of October that was taunting us to get crazy and forthright in more than ways than one. This is a softer approach where you can be influential with your words and your heart if you work them all in the right direction. Yeah, so, and the same thing, relying on the intuitive sense of what do I need, what is needed here, what's the temperature of the day, how do we, it's almost like November is more like how do we find the win-win rather than October's how do we get the war through with, or however, it just felt like a little bit more of a warring month. October did, so somehow I feel like it's a little bit more inner peacekeeping. It's the inner peacekeeping. That's what November looks like. So hopefully this helps, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for coming into my channel and the world. Okay. So mothers could be around a lot in November then. That's our bonus little card. And your intuition could be very subliminal in the mind through, just your own accidental ESP and things like that. Like you don't even know you're tuned in and you tuned in. People could be saying, oh, how did you know that? A little bit, a lot. A little bit, a lot that could be happening. So you're tuned in, trust that you are. If you've even been barely awake in these last few months, you're way more on board with some of your own inner gifts and talents. So maybe say hello to them and see like what are your legacies, what things are only yours that can be shared or taught or shared. I keep feeling like things are being shared more in November somehow too. Maybe that means, yeah, sharing is caring after all. All right. So the other thing with this can also be a medical card sometimes. It can have to do with hospitals and the whole medical industry, the big giant machine. Sometimes people will choose medical over natural. So there could be news in that regard in November as far as the whatever health crises are going on in the world and things like that, world health crises. And I'm almost feeling stuff like that with her. If we're talking November still, late November, they're seeing a little more specific. Yeah. So maybe things that are, yeah, things feels like almost like things certain people suspected turn out to be true. You know how when you're so tuned in, you just know something's whatever it is, but nobody believes you. They don't think you're crazy. This happens to women a lot. It's really annoying, but it happens. And then it pans out, and you're like, see what I mean? I knew I was right. I think we're going to have some of those moments in November. So maybe some of the other little conspiracy theories that have been lingering, can't think what they may be, but I'm asking, like, is that what you're mentioning? Yeah, it's almost like something's coming to light to have to do with all of that. The medical, pharmaceutical stuff. Yeah, so I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe it's big news by then. If that's the case, I just feel like asking about, well, just give me one more card as an insight into what else that might mean. And it's the Justice card. Wow. Wow. Spiritual contracts. This can be criminal law. Wow. So I wonder if there's going to be some kind of criminal thing come up during, or some kind of lawsuit come up in November that has to do with the whole medical pharma world. The Justice card comes up to set things straight. It comes to remind us of the spiritual hierarchy that is in play in this world, whether we see it or not, whether we believe it or not, whether we act upon it or not. There are still spiritual laws that out trump everything that we do here. Yeah, so this could be a very karmic reckoning month if this is coming up, or this could be the righting of something that was wrong for a while. Is that what that looks like? Yeah, like crusaders, coming through and fighting for the common man kind of stuff, it feels like. Wow. Yeah. Sometimes the Justice card can be twin flames and soulmates, but I don't feel like that. I mean, you could lose. I think it has to do with whatever the medical thing I'm picking up on and the industry and stuff like that, as far as yeah, it's some kind of world medicine stuff, some kind of karmic reckoning. So maybe something's coming full circle, maybe something's coming out. Be interesting to see. I'm even more curious now. And it is a karmic moment. Eight of Wands. Something's karmic destiny point. The the Justice card beside a karmic destiny point card. I don't know. You know, I guess there's all kinds of ways to read the Eight of Wands, but I always see it as some kind of karmic destiny point. At least nobody says I'm wrong when I'm saying it out loud in a reading. And by that I mean the invisibles telling me I'm not right or something, you know? No, they're like, no, keep going with that, Ellen. This is a lot of God force on any day of the week when these two cards show up and things are in play. Well, guess we'll see how that goes. You really can't escape karma, and it's really not you that decides how it goes. It's the forces, it's all the invisibles that weigh and measure, and it's pretty intricate. So let's see how that goes, I guess. I'll see you for December, maybe sooner. Thanks for coming in. If you're a new subscriber, my website's morphedintouYou.com. It lists the kinds of readings I do, a little bit about my background. Don't forget to unburden the things you don't need anymore. It's okay to let go and surrender. That's sometimes part of the growth. All right. Have a good November. See you soon. Bye for now.